I do say though that I'm never here to be intentionally mean. If it happens, I can't control it, okay? Hey, welcome to my video. If you're from my Instagram, I love you, and if you're not from my Instagram, love you all the same. Welcome to another monthly book club. It's a series here on my channel where I tell you exactly what I read each month and exactly what I rated, and boy, do we have an episode today. You will want to stick around until the end because I am going to talk about something controversial yet brave. I really hate a book that everybody else loves, but more on that later on. First of all, let's start with the disclaimers. Number one, I'm never here to be intentionally mean. I'm really not here to bash books or authors. However, I am here to tell you my honest opinion about the books that I read, but I don't necessarily want a potentially bad review to influence you or actually de-influence you, just because reading is so subjective, and the reason that I might hate a book might be the exact reason that you love it, and vice versa. And obviously neither of us are wrong, we just have our own opinions, and that is okay. Last disclaimer, I'm gonna pop some pictures up on the screen right now for you just so you can kind of tell why I rate things the way that I do. My system is a tiny bit outdated at this point, but it'll do. It's just kind of a baseline, and that's it. So if you like reading, if you like romantasy novels, if you like smutty books, then I think this might be the video for you, and if that's the case, then please keep watching. So today we're starting off with Bourbon Lies. And I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about what it is before I tell you my rating. So Fiasco, Kentucky. Picture this, right? Small town, everybody's all up in everybody's business, but there is one rule. Never date a Fox brother, because whoever dates one ends up dying. Or at least that was the rumor around town, but honestly, Grant, one of the brothers, really didn't want to risk it. He's known pain and he doesn't want to go through it again. But unfortunately for him, Lainey, this beautiful stranger, shows up to town and he doesn't want her anywhere near him because he instantly takes a liking to her. But thanks to his family, she's everywhere, working in their distillery, all around him, living close to him. But eventually he can't bear to resist her anymore, and now he only has one mission: to keep her safe. So the tropes here are a small town contemporary romance with elements of found family, which is right up my alley, and so my rating pretty much should not surprise you, but I rated this 4 stars and 2 chili peppers. I really ended up enjoying this one, which I'm happy about because everybody and their mother was talking about this online, and so I've been hearing that I need to read it, and I'm actually very glad I did. We'll be reading the rest of the series too, but for now, let's talk about this book. So what I really enjoyed is honestly both main characters. The main female character was very bold and she was mouthy, and I just love that. The main male character, however, was very thoughtful and caring, and I really was enjoying their chemistry a whole lot, and I especially enjoyed the proposal. I thought it was so meaningful. It really was beautiful. So this series will definitely be seeing me again. Now we're moving on to Legally Binding. So this is an age gap, friends to lovers, but also workplace romance. So it's about Maggie and Cal. Now Maggie is Cal's personal assistant and they have a professional relationship, nothing special, until one night when they run into each other at a sex club, no less, which is kind of awkward already, especially when you take in the fact that they've both been attracted to each other, but they've never acted on it. Now, one night, they get stranded in the office together. They can't leave due to bad weather, and that's when they finally do act on it, and that obviously brings them closer. So for me, this one was 2 stars and 2 chili peppers, but I feel like it might not be like that for you personally. Now let me explain why. So I feel like this would have gotten at least a 3-star rating from me because it really was good, except I just couldn't get over the age gap. Now, I will say, I love a good age gap romance. That comes with certain stipulations for me, and so I didn't know if I had a limit, I guess you could say, as to how old either of the main characters is supposed to be, but I think I have discovered my limit in this book because the main male character here was 55, and that was just too much for me. It's not even that the age gap was too big for me, I just think that he was a little too old. He was just too close to 60 for my personal liking. And so that's why I rated it this low, because I just couldn't get past his age. To be fair, you find out his age pretty quickly. And so I could have just decided not to read this. I tried to really lock in, really get into the zone. And like I said, it wasn't a bad book. It's just his age bothered me too much personally for me to be able to enjoy this read as much as I would if he was a little bit younger. One thing I will say though, the main female character here is 27. Her frontal lobe is fully developed and I love that. So brownie points for that definitely. I will also say the low rating is not only due to the age. I do think the book was a little one-dimensional because besides from the fact that she renovates her place and they do it a lot, nothing else really happens. It read a little bit one-dimensional to me. If you enjoy spice, I think you would enjoy this one. There was a daddy kink though, so do with that what you will. Okay, moving on. Next on the list is Trouble. It's about Melina and she's hiding out in a small town to escape her ex, specifically in Fire Chief Declan's home, who did agree to help her, but he obviously is attracted to her, as you can imagine. Now, there is a twist, however. He lives with a roommate. His roommate's name is Cade. And Cade has been in love with Declan since forever, but they just sort of never really connected in that way. Until she showed up, they both took a liking to her, and then that's what also made them finally take the leap and be in a relationship with each other as well. The question here is, can the three of them do it? Can they really say the heart wants what it wants and give this crazy relationship a shot, or will it all fail? So this is a hockey MMF romance with, yes, you guessed it, elements of forced proximity. So let's get on to the rating. For me, this was 3 stars and 3 chili peppers. Overall, I did enjoy this book. I would say it was one of those high smut, low plot books, if you catch my drift. As in, there's not much of a storyline really. I mean, there is, but that falls to the waistline. But if you are looking for decent smutty scenes and cool characters, I think you would like this one. Because I really did enjoy their relationship and nobody was annoying. I liked all the characters together and individually, so that was perfect. And again, while it did have a plot, that was just kind of secondary to me. However, I will say I did love that there were also MM scenes in there. You know that I always appreciate that as well. Now, this last one, I am gonna get heat for this. I already know, but I want you to listen to me with an open mind. I want us to actually have a discussion about this, okay? Because this book is so popular, and not only that, it is very well rated on Goodreads, okay? 4.36 out of 5 stars. I just checked like 10 minutes ago, and that is a crazy rating. So I did have high expectations, not only because of the rating, but because I have seen people rave about this book. And let's just say that my experience was not that at all. So yes, we're talking about Quicksilver today. Okay, before you throw the tomatoes, pitchforks, etc., please hear me out. And just in case you don't know anything about this book, let me recap it for you. So it is a Fae enemies to lovers fantasy romance, and it's about Cerise. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If not, I'm sorry. I can barely even pronounce my own name, okay? And she has strange magical powers, and nobody knows about this. She's keeping that secret, but she is a thief and a pickpocket, and she's been stealing from the Undying Queen. She gets busted for this and then meets death head on. When this happens, however, she inadvertently opens a gate between realms and then gets stuck there, where she finds out that the Fae, the stuff of legends and myths, and some would say nightmares, are indeed real. And there, she mistakenly binds herself to Kingfisher, a warrior who uses her magical powers to his advantage. Well, not really to his advantage. He really wants to protect his people, but he does it no matter what it costs him or her. So it really does sound super interesting. Even as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking, how did I have the experience that I had? And as you can see, I'm stalling mostly because I don't want to tell you the rating, mostly because I rated it 1 star and who knows how many chili peppers because I ended up DNFing it. I am sorry, but there was no way I could have continued. Okay, listen. If you are somebody who loves this book, I would genuinely like to know why, and I want you to convince me to pick it back up again because I really wanted to love this one, but I simply could not get into it at all. Here's why. We're thrown into the story and I felt like I just couldn't get into the world building at all, and I felt like also it was a lot of word salad. There was so much info dumping at one point that I just didn't connect, and I also started having so many questions, and I was getting zero answers to those questions. On top of that, I constantly had new questions popping up, and I was only at about 20% at this point. And what started happening when I was reading this was I kept putting the book down and picking my phone back up way too often, and I only ever do that. I only ever procrastinate reading with my phone if I'm bored. So as soon as I caught myself doing that, I was just like, oh, I'm really bored. I can't get into this in any way, shape, or form. So I decided to ask you guys on Instagram what you would do. I didn't give you the title of this book because I thought that would create some bias. I just said, would you stick it out or would you DNF it? And you guys, I love you. I love you guys so much. But you really wanted me to suffer because you just said stick it out. And trust me, I tried my very best. I made it, unfortunately, only up to 28%. And that 8% was only due to you guys. I really think I would have DNF'd at 20% had you not voted the way you did. I really was bored. I also felt like I would love the MMC based on the description. And maybe I would have by the end of the book, but I didn't like the dynamic between the main characters. Simply because at this part of the story, he bullies her. He even called her a bitch in heat. And you know, I know some people love when enemies to lovers are actual enemies to lovers, but I'm just not one of those people. If the leading man starts really bullying the leading lady, I'm kind of turned off by that. I'm not gonna lie. Call me old-fashioned, but I want somebody who really wants me, who's obsessed with me, not somebody who cannot stand my guts. And that's how it seemed like Kingfisher felt about Cerise. I know they have a romance later on. I just didn't care enough to get to it. But because this was so highly rated, I was like, okay, let me go on Goodreads and let me see the good and bad reviews. And maybe people who have read it can convince me to really, you know, get my head in the game. And then I read some of the good reviews and I didn't resonate with any of them. I did, however, read only the ones with no spoilers because I was like, if I'm gonna continue reading this, I can't spoil the whole thing for myself. But then I also read the bad reviews and I agreed with everything that they said. And at a certain point, if you're reading a book and you write "free me" in your notes app, I don't think you should finish that book, because if you feel like you're trapped, Diva, get up and free yourself, honestly. So I'm sorry, but it was just, I couldn't connect to absolutely anything in the story. I was so bored, and that's just my truth. If you really love this book, literally, please tell me that it gets better. I did read one review where they said that it gets more exciting towards the end, but it's like, if I have to get to the end of a book to like reading it, I don't know that I'm interested. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's just me. Anyways, comment below. You can ream me now if you want. I said my piece. I'm sorry. It just was not for me. And I love romantasy and I love Fae romances. This one, couldn't do it. Okay, now that I got all of that off my chest, we can move on to rapid fire reviews. It's a segment here where I just quickly go over everything else I read this month. If you want to, I could expand and go deeper on any of the other reads too, but otherwise we leave it as is. I give minimal to no explanation. I just fire these off. Hence the name, okay? Let's go. Fight by Sloane St. James. Honestly, promising start, good chemistry. However, I was bored by the end, and honestly, I was skimming because at one point, the main characters essentially stopped talking because of really dumb misunderstanding, and then basically trauma bond, and that's it. There was no emotional depth for me, no character development. It just was what it was, and whatever. Sorry, is that mean? I'm sorry. I do say though that I'm never here to be intentionally mean. If it happens, I can't control it, okay? The Unwanted Wife, also 1 star, and I also DNF'd it. Now I will say, as I'm talking to you, I realized that I DNF'd like 3 books this month, and I normally try really not to do that. But on the flip side of that coin, when I was younger, any book that I picked up, I simply had to finish it. It bothered me if I didn't, and that was cool and all. However, what that meant in practice was that I ended up reading a bunch of books and having a bad time while doing it. And so I really don't want that to be my journey as an adult. So just know, if I say I DNF a book. I really gave it everything that I had, but I'm not willing to read it just to finish it. Anyway, back to the review. Nate, the main male character, blows hot and cold. I don't like that. And I also think that everything between him and the main female character is just kind of shallow, one-dimensional, and it has no substance, and he's also very repetitive. I felt like every other sentence was, I'm just doing your brother a favor and everybody has to believe that this is real. And it's like, okay, we get it, but like, what else? Do my eyebrows do something else? And he didn't, so I had to move on. Okay, now no final rating for this book yet, because as we're talking, I haven't finished it yet, although I am at 53%. And I'll tell you what I think thus far, although this is subject to change because I obviously haven't finished this book, but I will. Caught Up. I was so excited about this one. It's the second in a series, really wanted to read it, but I'm at 53% right now. And honestly, the smutty scenes are really good, but that's about it for me. I will expand in next month's video, but that's what I have so far. All right, and we're done. If you made it this far, you're definitely a bookworm, but thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, then please consider liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!